Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all enjoying this beautiful September weekend we're having. Gorgeous weather here where I am in Vermont. Couldn't ask for anything better. Fall comes fast. Yeah, so other than that, we're just going to get right into it today. Thank you for those of you who stuck around from the first episode of The Line in the Sand. As you can tell, some things have changed since that first episode, such as the backdrop here, maybe my appearance, kinda. Hopefully the sound is a little bit better for you, and hopefully the lighting is a little bit better as well. Always trying to get better. That's the goal here. Getting better, one video at a time. All right, everybody. So today, I'm going to tackle an issue that I think is kind of ridiculous, but it's also very important. Okay, let's jump into it. So, if you watched my first video, you know the first video was about the economy and how Harvard economist Professor Richard Wolff has projected that we're going to fall off an economic cliff soon. We are heading toward disaster. Right now, the economy is in the poorest shape he has said, quote, he has ever seen it in. Probably more of a paraphrase than a quote. But I would check out the status quo interview Jordan Sheridan did with Professor Wolff about the state of the economy. Currently, right now, the jobs numbers that came in for September were atrocious. Excuse me, they came in for August. They were atrocious. There was like 200,000 jobs added, and I think it fell well below what the Biden administration was expecting. So far, a majority of the jobs added to the U.S. economy have been hospitality and low-wage jobs, such as Burger King, McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins, server positions, line cook positions, carpenters, construction workers. Not to say there's anything wrong with those jobs, because believe me, I've worked in hospitality most of my life, but to say that the economy is growing and it's roaring back because of all these vaccinations, that's a bit of a skewed view in terms of what one would consider a full economic recovery. So let's just get into it here. So long story short, let's see here if I can do this. As most of you know, or of course you know, because you've been seeing the news, there was this big old hubbub about AOC and this dress that she wore. And people are outraged. How dare she wear a dress? This dress right here, as a matter of fact. How dare she wear that dress? Tax rich. That's what people are saying on the left, because they're like, oh, great, another, I think the term is boutique, progressive, basically, all show, no substance, no plan. People saw this dress, they're like, okay, she's saying tax the rich, but she's in a dress that probably is more than her annual salary as a congresswoman. And also, it's $30,000 for a ticket just to get into the Met Gala that she got into. So there's a lot of people saying, okay, it's kind of sending two messages at once. It's saying, look at me, I'm an elitist. Fuck you. And it's also saying, tax the rich, but I'm going to go hang out with my rich friends for a little bit. So, of course, the progressives and the conservatives were both up in arms about this a bit. Some people are more upset about it than others. Some people are saying there's way too much to be made about this. Me, myself, and I don't know. AOC, she knows she's in a prominent position. For crying out loud, they were asking her in an interview last month if she was planning on running for president in a few years. She's just in her second term in Congress, and they're already asking her if she's going to run for president. What the fuck? That's all I got to say about that. But anyways, so AOC in the dress, that's quite contentious. And I will fully agree with that. And then, as we move along here, what I really wanted to get into here is the fallout from the dress. The articles that came out after the dress. Remember a few years ago, it was, what color is the dress? Is it blue or is it white? Well, this is more like, the dress that caused the economic civil war. Does she really mean it, or is she part of the elites? You know, I hate to break it to you, but she's been in Washington for about 3 years now, going on 4 years. She's probably becoming a creature of Washington. Um, and that Justice Democrat that ran 4 years ago and promised to bring change, little by little, the establishment leadership has chipped away at her spirits. And they said, listen, if you want a career in Washington, we can make that happen. If you want a fast one-way ticket the fuck out of here, keep on going running your mouth about poverty, wealth inequality, the Green New Deal, etc., etc., etc. Like the old saying goes, in Washington, there are very few friends, and if you want a friend in Washington, you should probably get a dog. So, moving on here from the AOC dress, we get this article here from the Business Insider. AOC used her first Met Gala appearance to send a message. Quote, tax the rich. Right, and this is coming from Business Insider. I trust Business Insider. It's a reliable source. Do I think it's kind of skewed, kind of left? Yes. Do I think it's skewed progressive? No. I think it's very status quo, very down the middle. Like Nancy Pelosi probably reads this while she's on the shitter. Sorry for that imagery. But, of course, right here, the bullet points of the article. Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made her first Met Gala appearance. Her first! So they're thinking there's going to be a lot more to come. She used the opportunity to send a political message. The back of her white strapless gown had, quote, tax the rich, end quote, written in red. And of course, the article here. In her first Met Gala appearance, Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York sent a clear message for the cameras and the celebrities in her midst. Tax the rich. The Progressive Democratic wore a white strapless dress Monday that had the message emblazoned in red on the back. Ooh, how brave of her. How brave of her to wear a really expensive dress to a place that costs $30,000 just to get a ticket to get in the fucking door. And yet we got an eviction crisis, millions of people being kicked out on their asses as we speak, and in about a month, a lot more millions of people being kicked out on their asses. But absolutely, the dress, fabulous. You look great, AOC. Good, good. Iconic warrior AOC. That's exactly what we need in Washington right now. Iconic fashion warrior Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She will not just be the first female president, but she will be the first female and Hispanic president. I can already see the liberal class, the that needs to have a name on everything in politics, identity politics. Look at her, she's Latino, she's educated, she comes from the working class, and now she is looking beautiful at these Met Galas. I can see Rachel Maddow pretty much creaming in her jeans over this. And that's probably why she's leaving her show on MSNBC. But according to Vogue, the dress was created by Brother Vellies. I never heard of them because I'm poor as shit. Ocasio-Cortez recently criticized Democratic Senator Joe Manchin for urging Democrats to slow down the passage of a $3.5 trillion social spending bill, which she supports. Okay, I'm glad she supports it. I didn't get a chance to see if she voted for the bill, if it's on the Senate floor yet. But if she voted for the bill, good for her, good for her. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of pork spending in there for a lot of the Democrats, for a lot of their local districts. That's how any bill gets through Congress. Pork, 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 pork. There's more pork and fat on bills than there is substance. But U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders has tried to get as much on this bill as he can for the most vulnerable among us. So we shall see. This year's Met Gala came after coronavirus pandemic forced the cancellation of last year's event. The theme this year is America, a lexicon of fashion. I want to fucking puke. Yes, a lexicon of fashion. I'm sure that's what all the homeless people are thinking of right now. We live in a wonderful country. A lexicon of fashion. Hey, is the fire ready over in the dumpster? Mommy's got to start cooking those half-cooked hamburgers that McDonald's threw out the other day. What the fuck, man? Alright, so let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, okay? So we're going to take a look, once again, at the real fucking economy and how everything breaks down. So for the richest 1%, the effective tax rate. So we're going to taxes. She wants to talk taxes? Here we go. Let's talk taxes. Let's talk turkey, baby. For the richest 1%, the effective average tax rate is 27.2%, meaning that well over a quarter of their income goes into federal coffers. Yeah, but what this little snippet here isn't telling you is that many years ago, back in the 1950s, the tax rate went up as far as 91%. And this isn't for people who are just cutting $150,000 a year, folks. We're talking about hundreds of millionaires, people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and billionaires, which means they have more money than needed to live a secure life here in America and here on planet Earth, to be fair. All right. For the next group, up to 5%, the physical pressure is just below a quarter of 23.6%. So basically what they're saying there is for the upper middle class, it's a little less. And this is why the middle class is getting squished. This is why the middle class is disappearing. Because if there's only approximately 3.7 percentage points that separates the tax rate from the middle class, from the richest of the rich in America, this is why we are seeing the disparity. This is why we are seeing such a great wealth disparity of really rich and really fucking poor. So poor that you're working 2 full-time jobs, and one of them happens to be at Frito-Lay, where you're shitting in bags or shitting in cans, and people are dying on the line working. Like, what? I just, this stuff makes me sick. All right. So, fact sheet, taxing wealthy Americans. So, this right here is the Americans for Tax Fairness .org. So, you know, they're an organization, nonprofit organization, and they pretty much give you some key facts about what taxes were, where taxes are going, and what the real brass tacks is. Sorry for the stutter there. The richest 1% of Americans own 35% of the nation's wealth. The bottom 80% own just 11% of the nation's wealth. So, again, 1% owns over a third of the wealth of this country. Over a third. And the bottom 80% own just 11% of the nation's wealth. So by the bottom 80%, is that the working poor, low middle class, and those in poverty? Or that kind of confuses me there, because we're missing another 19%, which I'm going to say is probably maybe the middle class, or what would be considered the middle class or upper middle class. Again, as time goes on, and as the rich keep getting more and more tax cuts, and the middle class keeps getting screwed and keeps becoming, a bigger working poor rather than bigger middle class. And by working poor, I mean, yeah, they're working their asses off, but they're not making ends meet. They're barely paying their bills. The lights are being barely kept on, that kind of thing. That's what I mean when I say the working poor. because most of us are fucking working poor. All right? In the 1950s and 1960s, when the economy was booming, the wealthiest Americans paid a top income tax rate of 91%. Today, the top tax rate is 43.4%. So, if Jeff Bezos didn't have any tricky accountants and any tricky lawyers or any of that shit, he would be paying 43.4% of his income to the federal government. I bet you he doesn't even pay that. I think I saw a report that he got a fucking tax return. If I'm correct, I'll Google it in front of you guys. I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos got a tax return. Most billionaires get tax returns in America. Ain't that America? Da, 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 da. All right. So, what is that? I hope I didn't pass anything important there. All right. The average federal income tax rate of the richest 400 Americans was just 20% in 2009. And that keeps dropping. Dropping. When the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, was in office, I hate to break it to you folks out there in Trump world, but he talked about a tax break for everybody and taking care of everybody and all. We're going to take care of everybody. It's going to be the best tax rate ever. All right? Okay. No. He cut the taxes for the rich again. Just like George W. Bush did in 2001. Like, come on now. Isn't that funny? Every time we have a Republican president lately, they continuously cut the tax for the richest people in America. It's just great. It's almost like they're going to get a kickback or something when they leave office. I don't know. Just something. Right? 1,470 households reported income of more than $1 million in 2009, but paid zero federal income taxes on it. Ba-boom! So, 1,470 households reported an income of $1 million, of more than $1 million in 2009, but paid zero federal income taxes on that. And what do you want to bet? Those are the richest of the rich. Those are the people that have the accountants, that have the lobbyist friends in D.C., that have a direct line to their representatives in Washington, that have good lawyers, that have good accountants. They have the best of the best of the best, and they have the best connections. They are networked right in there, so they can get away with whatever, whenever, and hey, it's all right because the people that make the laws are their friends, you know? It's all one big group, and we're not in it, as George Carlin once said. CEOs of major corporations earn nearly 300 times more than the average worker. That makes me want to puke. Again, 30% of income inequality is due to unfair taxes and budget cuts to services and benefits. So, right there, 30% of income inequality is due to unfair taxes and budget cuts to services and benefits. So, if an official nonprofit organization is coming out with this number, I bet you that number is bigger now. It looks like they're going off of 2009 numbers here. And I bet you that number is probably hovering around, well, I mean, my God, you know, I'd probably say 45%, at least 45%. You know, if people can say, okay, well, what about jobs? You know, it's all about jobs, and education. There's a lot of factors that go into it that create economic disparity, wealth disparity. And of course, it's not just all about taxes. But if we're talking about taxing the rich like AOC was, we need to get down to brass tacks here and see what her dress really meant. Let's see if she has some bite with her bark, let's say, okay? The largest contributor to increasing income inequality has been changes in income from capital gains and dividends. Of course, folks that can invest in the stock market. There you go. Sorry, everybody. I'm just letting my baby boy, he's a chihuahua, out, and he didn't want to stay in the studio any longer. Okay. It's time for the wealthiest Americans and big corporations to pay their fair share of taxes when they take unfair advantage of the many loopholes in the tax code. Blah, 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 blah. We've heard all this shit before. It's almost like somebody wrote this for Barack Obama. Right? Tax income from investments like income from work. Billionaires like Warren Buffett pay a lower income tax rate than millions of Americans because federal taxes on investment income, on earned income, are lower than the taxes many Americans pay on salary and wage income, earned income. Because Buffett gets a high percentage of his total income from investments, he pays a lower income tax rate than his secretary. Currently, the top statutory tax rate on investment income is just 23.8%, but it's 43.4% on income from work. So, basically what this is saying, if you are a trust fund kid, which I've happened to know a few in my life, I live in Vermont, plenty of wealthy families in this state, right? So if you're a trust fund kid and you're living off of a trust, and there's also investments that were made on your behalf in the stock market, or investments you made, or a wealthy person made when you were of age, and you're living high off the hog, you have a very low tax rate. So of course it's much easier to make money. Of course, oh, have you ever thought about investing in the stock market? Yeah, I did. But where am I going to get the fucking $50,000 for a startup month? Never mind. All right. So, cap deductions at 28% for the wealthiest Americans. Strengthen the estate tax. We know that. Another way to ensure that large inheritance are taxed is to close the income tax loophole that lets wealthy people avoid capital gains taxes by holding their assets until they die. Their heirs then escape paying taxes on those gains. So I think that something like this was addressed. This article may be a little bit dated, but long story short, so if somebody holds on to all their money, and when they die, they pass it on. Whoever they pass it on to, their heir or whoever is in their will in their estate that gets all the money when they die, they don't have to pay taxes on that money. And that's ridiculous if taxes weren't even paid on in the first place. Okay, so moving right along here. U.S. wealth distribution. So this is where it gets really depressing. So we see the poorest 20% own 0.1% of, the U.S. wealth. So poorest 20%. The working poor, which the working poor here in the poorest 20%, you can see here, putting them together, they have an almighty 0.3% of the wealth of the United States. Middle America owns 4%. So if you're somebody who has a state or government job, or you're a secretary at an organization that's growing, or you're a small business owner, chances are you're right in Middle America, and you might be doing well for yourself. But that's not always the case, because businesses always go tits up. Sorry for the frank language there. Middle America owns 4% of the wealth of the United States economy. So people who bust their ass. The backbone. So look at this. The working poor, the Middle America, and the poorest of the poor among us. You add all that up, you get 4.3% of the wealth of America. And then you get the upper class. So I'm going to say the upper class here is over $150,000 a year. Own 11.1% of the economy, which, that's still really low, especially for folks who are considered upper class, and who are considered wealthy. The wealthiest 20% of Americans own 84.6% of America's wealth. So that's a big problem when you have a minority. You have a minority of people. You have, let's see here, if you put the poorest 20% and the upper class together, that's 31.1%. So you have 31.1% of America that makes up 6.4. Sorry, my goodness, can I count today? 15.4. 15.4% of America's wealth. And that's, 31%, the bottom 31%. And then you get the top 20%, they own 84.6% of America's wealth. And then, of course, you get to the 1%, and they have a bigger piece of the pie than any other group. Any other group. Right, if there should be like a line right here saying like, oh, this is the top 1%. The top 1% of the top 10% or whatever it is. This is what, there should be another line here, but that's here nor there. Right, moving right along. That's just a bigger, that's the one I should have been showing. Well, I'm an idiot. Sorry about that. I thought this was a neat little thing to show here. This is national wealth. National wealth by country, And so there's this nice little quick chart here. United States, in terms of global wealth for the entire planet. The United States has about a third of the world economy. That's huge. That's fucking huge. For one nation to have a third of the world's economy, when there are so many nations, so many countries in the world, but one nation, the United States, has a third of the world's wealth. And a majority of that wealth goes to a tiny fraction of people. And then you got China here, coming in at a modest 17.7% of the world's wealth. Japan has around 6.93%. And then you get Germany, which has 4.07%. France, 3.81%. Canada has 2.38%. There's other countries that are just not on here, and they come up with 2.7%. So you get the picture. Where the hell is Russia on here? Am I blind as a bat today? I don't have my reading glasses. I should have gotten the enlarged picture for this. But basically, this is crazy. Think about that. One country, when there's so many countries in the world. Okay, there's that bigger picture. Alright. So, Colombia, Mexico has 0.75%. Australia comes in at 2% of the world's wealth. Let's see here. I'm really looking for Russia because, they're the big bad boogeyman always trying to interfere in our elections. Better watch out for them Russian bots. Let's see. Thailand, United Kingdom, France, Switzerland. You know what? This is the website here. It's called visualcapitalist.com. And so anybody who wants to, see these charts in more detail, if you're watching this video and you want to see these charts in more detail, go to www.visualcapitalist.com, and it's really interesting. And of course, with the AOC story, we get, like I was stating in the beginning of the video, we get slanted coverage on both the right and the left. For example, right here, AOC's tax the rich dress designer owes tax debt in multiple states. That's from Fox Business. No surprise that they would get into the weeds on that. The Washington Examiner, the real AOC Met Gala scandal isn't her tax the rich dress. What could it be? And let's see here. Did AOC's custom design dress send message she intended? Oh, at least that's a fair question. So, right here, this is from the Washington Post. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez were addressed with a message, tax the rich, and AOC was joined at the 35,000 per person fundraiser by other New York Democrats, as well as Rihanna, Lil Nas X, and Iman. Now, if I mispronounce any of those rappers' names, I am sorry. What can I say? I'm a 90s kid. Alright, and I like my 90s music. Yeah, I'm a corny asshole. So, let's see here. Just, if you look at the reports, okay, right here. I'm not, actually, I can't play this video because I'll probably get a copyright strike. But, again, Fox News, they're spewing the venom. CNN panel praises AOC's bravery for her tax the rich dress. And I don't know where that just went. But we don't care about what's actually on right now. Not until the next election. So basically, Fox News, they're basically calling CNN a bunch of snowflakes. And of course, Fox News is, and CNN is saying, yeah, AOC's out there. She's giving a message. She's telling the American people. She's telling the wealthy. She's sending a very powerful message. Yeah, I bet you while she was at that gala, she made some really nice connections, and she's going to get some really great campaign contributions. And one of the things she's going to have to do to get those great campaign contributions is not wear that fucking dress again. So that's the state of our politics. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. My goodness. I'm a progressive at heart. I want to see everybody do well. That's who I am. I guess you would call me a Bernie Sanders progressive, but I don't even consider myself a Bernie Sanders progressive, because I feel betrayed by Bernie Sanders, quite frankly. When he ran for the 2020 presidential primary, Bernie Sanders, he took donations from disabled veterans, folks living off disability, folks living off of retirement, folks living off of state assistance, folks working minimum wage jobs, folks in the middle class barely scraping through, folks in the working poor class just barely scraping through. Bernie, I'm not saying Bernie went, oh, I'm just gonna go, fuck it, I'm gonna get money from all the poor people, I'm gonna jump on the fucking election. I'm not saying that's what Bernie did, but what pisses me off is he promised he was gonna run a full campaign. A full campaign. We can litigate this some other time. But the fact of the matter is, Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race. He dropped out of the race as soon as he could during the coronavirus crisis. And then he didn't even get any concessions from the Biden campaign. Did not get any promises. He did not get any guarantees. He got nothing for his base of support, which it looks like was over 40% of the voters in the Democratic primary. So while the Democratic establishment oohs and ahs about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, about her wearing a dress, sending a message. She's sending a message to you, millionaires and billionaires. Watch out! Pew, 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 pew! Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's gonna make you get taxed, bitch! Come on. Come on. This is just, what do they call it? Signaling. It's signaling. It's just a dog whistle. Alright? These are signals my goodness, see, if I wasn't live, I would have it right here. But it's basically, she's just saying, these are my values. I value progressive causes. I'm going to run as a progressive. I'm going to be a progressive representative. She's a progressive representative as long as there's cameras in her face. She's a progressive representative as long as she's in front of huge groups of people. She's a progressive representative as long as Bernie Sanders was leading the Democratic field for President of the United States in 2020. As soon as Bernie Sanders dropped out of that race, AOC rethought her strategy. She stepped back in line, called Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear, and bam! Her legs shut like a well-oiled bear trap. It just pisses me off. It pisses me off that there are people in this country, a country of plenty, a country that's rich, a country that has the biggest defense budget of any country in the world. But yet, we have veterans dying in the streets. We have gun massacres every day. We have people dying in poverty in corners of this country that haven't been visited by social workers in years. We got pockets of this country that don't even have internet access. I live in Vermont. Vermont's a pretty rural state. I live in the Burlington area, but trust me about this. Vermont, up until about probably 10, 15 years ago, there was quite a few places in Vermont that didn't even have telephone service. To this day, you can go to places in Vermont and have the dreaded no bars, roaming. Hope you're not a Verizon carrier if you visit Vermont. Or AT&T, because they suck too. Sprint, you also suck. You're the worst of them all. Fucking over Boost Mobile like that and Boost Mobile customers. If you're a Boost Mobile customer, you might want to read into that. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me rant today. I hope it was worth your time. And like I always say, treat others as you would like to be treated. And, don't text and drive. It'll save your life. It'll save someone else.